Welcome to the Mentor Podcast, where the most highly motivated entrepreneurs come to get their weekly dose of financial stability with host LeGrand, as well as other nationally recognized thought leaders who will teach you how to get, grow, and protect your wealth.
Well, hello, everybody. Again, this is LeGrand. And on this podcast today, I will be interviewing myself, which means I'll be doing a lesson on time management, which is a very highly requested subject to discuss. And between you and me, I meet very, very, very few people who actually have a clue what that means. So let me start off with what is it and why is it important to our life and our business, especially our business. And here's some good things that will happen if you get control of your time and not continue to let other people control it for you. Now, I teach this in my business management boot camp, so I'm going to do the best I can here in a half an hour today to give you some hot tips that people discover while they are there. All right. Number one, minutia. If we don't get control of minutia, it's definitely going to control us. And then every day will go by and we won't get one thing done worth doing. So I'll come back to that, but these are what we're going to discuss today. In fact, I have a book on this subject called The Less I Do, The More I Make, and you'll find it on Amazon. The Less I Do, The More I Make, and it's all about time management and systems and automation. The second thing that is a problem for most people is everything that they do, they try to remember when and what needs to get done. Using your memory and relying on it is a bad move, especially at my age, because I don't have one of those. People ask me all the time how I get so much done. And the answer is because I don't have to remember anything. Because if I did, I would be a chaotic mess, just exactly like most people are. So we have a system for making sure we don't have to rely on our memory. Number 3 is keeping your promises. If you can't control your time, you can't keep your promises. If you can't keep your promises, people aren't going to want to work with you. You're going to have a reputation of not keeping your promises. And honestly, that's the reputation most people have. Go try to hire a contractor and see if they show up on time, see if they do exactly what they say they're going to do. Rare when they do. So there's a system for keeping your promises that does not rely on your memory. And number 4 is holding others accountable to keep their promises to you and do what they say. Because if you don't have some kind of way to follow up when people tell you what they're going to do, most of the time they won't get done. Good news, there's a system for that too. Number 5 is not losing big ideas. Everybody gets ideas. Very few of them actually act on them because they rely on their memory to have them come back when they're actually going to do anything about it. Not me. When I get a good idea, I make sure that it gets recorded somewhere, somehow, immediately. I know what happens if I don't. It is gone. Gone. And pretty much everything, every event we do, every course we do, pretty much everything that is worth doing in my life started with an idea, as it does in yours. But if we don't have a way to turn those ideas into implementation, they're just gone, way with the wind, never to be heard from again unless we have to remember them a later date and take action on them. So most will never, I'm telling you, most people will not master time management because the truth is it's going to require a habit change, and some people just aren't willing to change their habits. On the other hand, getting rich will require a habit change as well. And if one is not willing to change their habits, then nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. And it really comes down to changing your thinking more than anything else. When you change your thinking, you'll begin to change the habits once you understand what habits need to be changed. And I'll tell you, this simple thing that I'm discussing right now is literally the difference between success and failure. I cannot tell you how many people that I've worked with over time that I had to kill a relationship with because they just couldn't get anything done. And if they can't get anything done, I don't need them hanging around me. So we work with the people who get stuff done, and you're not going to get stuff done if your whole life is nothing but minutia and you're just wasting one day right after another. So let's start with the minutia and talk about how to fix that, because it is huge in everybody's lives and you're not ever going to be perfect at it. I'm not perfect at it. I can tell you, I still have minutia in my life, but I don't have near the amount of minutia I used to have in my life, because I've learned the most important thing to kill minutia is delegation and I am a master delegator. Delegation, combined with automation and systemization, eliminates minutia. However, you still have to be of the mindset that I am not going to do this. I'm going to assign it to somebody else. So now the only question is who you're going to assign this particular task to. Now, fortunately, if it's about real estate, we have virtual assistants at Global who can do all of that stuff for you that you really don't need to do. There's a pretty good long list of it. Of course, the biggest thing that we do for our students is call sellers for them and get property information sheets filled out, because if that's not done, you have no business in the pretty house world. So making it someone else's job takes it off your plate and gets it done, and you just swap a little bit of money for their time and labor. That's how our society works. But if you do not find somebody to get that critical, important job done, then more minutia is created because you're not getting anywhere, and you're wondering why, because you're not doing the right things. So our VAs can help you with that. If it comes outside of the parameters of our VAs, then you just have to find who's going to do it for me. And I'm not talking about hiring employees, because I can tell you that'd be the last thing you'd want to do. You'd probably want to find a company to outsource to first, whatever that thing is you want to do. For example, we have a company called Pat Live that takes all inbound calls for our students from both buyers and sellers. Or if there's anything that'll suck up your time, is taking inbound calls from folks you should not be talking to. And I train my people, don't talk to anyone unless they are predisposed to do business with you, meaning you have some idea of what value they bring to the table before you get on the telephone with them and waste your time. Well, Pat Live has a few questions to ask sellers. They have a few questions to ask buyers. Then that information is turned over to our virtual assistants, and our virtual assistants make the call to the seller. Then we have the information we need to make the closing call, which I've discussed on a previous Mentor podcast. If you haven't listened to it, you can go get it from off the site and play it. Very, very good call, actually. A lot of information on that, on making that closing call. So in the world of real estate, the first thing you want to do and work toward is hiring an acquisitionist, which is really nothing more than somebody who does all the work you do. They deal with sellers and buyers, and they go out to the house and they screen out the buyers and so forth. And then you just have to sit around and make decisions on what seller you want and what buyers you want, which is exactly how I run my business, pretty much all of them. At my real estate business, I just decide what seller I want and what buyer I'm going to take, depending on how much money they got. And at Global, I teach and I write and I show up and create some chaos, and then I leave. And in my restaurant, in case you didn't know it, I have a restaurant. It's called Iggy's, and I have a general manager. All that's their problem. There's no minutia in my life concerning the restaurant and concerning my house business. There's a little bit Global because I still do a lot of writing, and here I am doing this podcast. So my tasks there are really nothing more than that, which only I can do. Somebody else is doing all the rest. Again, they don't have to be employees because almost everything you need done can be outsourced. Now, by the way, if you're interested in learning more about my business management bootcamp, you'll find that at thementorpodcast.com/BM, business management, BM, thementorpodcast.com. I only do it twice a year, and I teach the whole thing. And it would pay you handsomely if you actually come to learn how to run this business called real estate, buying and selling houses. All right. Now I'm going to give you a hot tip that'll help you create minutia, killing minutia, because it just so happens that the best time management device ever created is probably laying on your desk right now, or it's in your pocket. It's called a cell phone. So listen, pull out your cell phone, and you should see an app on there. They call it the Reminder app. Now I know it comes with the Apple, and I know it also comes with many other brands. But if it doesn't come with yours, something like it is on your cell phone. It's called Reminder. Now here's why that Reminder app is so critical to you, and I'm just amazed at how. When I mention this thing in my events, people don't even know that it's there and or what to do with it. So here it is, very simply. That Reminder app, once you tell it what to do and when, will literally pop up with a note on your screen, on your phone, when that task needs to be done that you told it to do. And it allows you to not have to remember. I use this thing religiously. I use it multiple times a day. When I take my car to the airport and park it in the garage, the minute I get out, I pull out my phone and I say, remind me that my car is in 4D Friday evening at 9 p.m. Now, at 9 p.m. on Friday, it pops up and it tells me where my car is so I don't lose it. You know, at my age, I have to be reminded a lot. I might lose my car. So I do not allow myself to have to remember anything. But again, if I don't change my habit, that reminder app is worthless because I have to remember to put it in the reminder app so that I don't have to remember it. Now, you don't even have to type into your reminder app. You can just press the home button and while holding it down, say, remind me to. You got to use those words, remind me to, or remind me that my car is in 4D. And then you got to tell it when to remind you, or it'll just make something up and it might be too late. So here's two things you got to remember. Tell it to remind you to, that takes you to the reminder app. And then what date and time, and then whatever you want to remember. Remind me to, use that. Make it a habit. Get on that thing multiple times a day. Ask yourself, what do I have to remember to do in the next 2 weeks or whatever? And get it on your reminder app. You will grow to love that thing. And it eliminates the need to carry around a pencil and a pad anymore like I used to. Now, that's not the only tool I use, of course, because I also use a planner, an actual book that I use. And I use the planner to keep track of my time and have since time began. But the reminder app goes a long ways to keep me from forgetting. Now, when I use my planner, it gives me a place to put my daily task in it. But most of the time, I get them off my reminder of my phone because I'm not where I can write into my planner when I'm thinking of something or something I need to remember comes to me. And it also gives me a place to put these tasks to when I think they need to be done. There's a 1 through 31 in any planner. In other words, each day of a month. So I just turn to the day I think it should be done, and then I write it in there. And once I've done that, I don't have to remember it either, because when I open that planner every day, there it pops up right in front of me. So I didn't have to remember it to get it done. And I make it a point before the day's over to have everything that I'm to do that day checked off, because if I don't, then I have to move it to the next day in my planner, and then it becomes a pain in the neck. So I find myself just doing it to get it out of my planner. You know, a lot of people don't have a physical planner today. They use their phone, and I get it. And in fact, at business management, we will teach both. But I tell you, I'll still use it, but I use it in conjunction with my phone. Also, capturing big ideas. Wow, here comes an idea. You may be even driving down the highway. Well, now pull up your telephone and hit the home button and say, remind me to do blah, 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 blah on blank date and blank time, and then you will not lose that big idea. Now you got to take that idea, though, and put it somewhere, wherever you can get back to it later. And here comes my planner again, because I put it in the planner about when I think I'm going to implement that idea, and then I don't lose it. And in fact, I even have a page in my planner called Ideas. I filed it under I in the Rolodex. Yeah, I know this sounds simple, but this simple system has worked wonders for me over the years. The simpler, the better, actually. But remember this, if I'm using a planner and I don't get it into my 1 through 31s in my daily activity, not going to do me much good to be housed somewhere in my planner that I don't look at regularly. Of course, it's better to be there than nowhere so that I don't lose it. So let's talk about some time wasters, because there's certainly a big old long list of them. And let's talk about some of the things that people allow to suck up their time so that they can't get anything productive done. Number one, people are a slave to their telephones. Absolutely a slave. I mean, everywhere I go now, sometimes I just stop and take a look around, and everybody is on their cell phone. When I'm eating, everybody is on their cell phone. Now, I'm not telling you that I'm not on mine either, because I use my phone heavily as well. But here's what I will not allow my phone to do. I will not let it ring and interrupt me and make me stop what I'm doing to answer the phone. Because if you do that, Many, many, many times a day, other people have taken control of your life. And the hard part about that is, what if you're in the middle of thinking something through or creating a project or in the middle of a task? Now the phone rings. Now you have to stop, take the call, which is almost always worthless, and then you got to start all over again. And many times you forgot where you were and you lost your train of thought. You cannot allow people to interrupt your life anytime you want and expect to be successful. Rich people do not take inbound calls from people. They are unless they have a good reason to, and know that they're coming and know why they should take the call. And same with text. There's no law that says because somebody texts you or calls you, you have to call them back. It's entirely up to you whether you want to call them back. And when you do, I'd suggest you do it in scheduled chunks. For example, if I got 4 voicemail messages on my phone, I'm not going to call them back every time I get the message. I'm going to call them back when I feel like it. I'll do all 4 of them at the same time, so I'm not constantly interrupting everything else that I'm doing. And by the way, here's a tip that I know you won't do, but just a thought. Turn off the dinger. You should not know when your phone rings. If you don't know when it rings and you don't know when a text comes in, you can't be interrupted. You're always going to look at the thing from time to time, many times a day, to see who interrupted you and see who wants to waste your time. And I get all that. Me too. I do the same thing. But my phone ringer is not on unless I decide to turn it on. And much of the time, it's off. And therefore, I don't know when that call comes in, and I cannot be interrupted. I'm doing this podcast right now. My phone is in off position. Nobody's going to be calling me. If they are, I don't care. And by the way, I turn it over so I can't see it light up either. Again, it's a habit change. And I know it's not what you're accustomed to doing. But on the other hand, if you don't control your time, I promise you other people will be happy to do so and waste as much of it as you will allow them to waste. So group your return calls, group your return texts, and group your return emails. You don't have to respond to somebody immediately just because they thought you should. Now, I'll tell you what's going to happen if you quit taking calls from everybody on the planet that you know. Many of them will stop calling because you've trained them that you're not going to pick up the phone instantly. And frankly, that's exactly what you want to do. And another thing, if someone does not want to reach you bad enough to leave a message, for crying out loud, there is no reason to call them back. You don't call back numbers on your phone just because they called you. Stop that nonsense. Stop it immediately. Ask yourself, what could I be doing better with this time? And I got something for you. Try this on. And I know you're not going to do this either, but try it. I dare you. Take a day out of your life, any work day, and all day long, make a record of what you do in every time slot. If I'm on the phone, how long did that call take? Whatever you're doing, write it down. Just one day. That's all I'm asking you to do. In fact, let's just do it for 8 hours. And at the end of the day, go back and look at what you accomplished that day and what you spent your time on. You better have a barf bag close by, because it'll be very easy for you to see why you're not getting anything done, because minutia sucked up your life, and you've let things like your phone and your text and your email put you in a position to where you can't get anything done because you don't have any time killing minutia and letting other people suck up your life. So also next, improper pre-screening. Well, we buy and sell houses, but I work hard to teach my folks that we are not to go visit a house unless we know exactly what terms the seller is offering us and we have a reason to go visit it. On my scripts, we have 3 big questions. What's the least you could take down? What's the least you could take for the house? And what's the least you could take per month? Not exactly like that, but those 3 questions must be answered. Because if they're not answered, why on earth would I want to go to anybody's house if I don't know they're willing to take some good terms? So there are right on my script, but I see people just making appointments without getting the answers. What a time waster that is. Totally improper pre-screening. Read my scripts, screen them properly, then go, because if you don't, you're exchanging that for time and gas you shouldn't be spending. And in fact, even my script to make an appointment says right on there, last question. If I come out to your house today and we agree upon the terms, are you ready to sell your house today and get some paperwork done while I'm there? Now, wasn't that easy to say? And why on earth would I want to go to somebody's houses that when they say no? If they're not ready to sell, I'm not ready to get in my car. Called pre-screening. How many houses do you think I went to before I actually learned to do that correctly? Boy, it saves a lot of trips. And what it means is you're only going to visit a few houses a month to get all the deals you want. That's what it means. Okay, next on my time waster list is grunt work. Grunt work. Work you shouldn't be doing. Work you can get other people to do for a very small amount of money. Our VAs will do a lot of that grunt work for you. And if not our VAs, there is somebody hanging around you that can do it for you. Your job is to make decisions. You should focus on only that which you have to do. And by the way, that should be an extremely short list. Now, here's something you ought to write down. You can argue with me when I see you. There is not one thing in your business that someone else can't do. There's not one thing in your business that someone else cannot do. You really have nothing that you have to do in your business. What you do is insist on doing it because that's the way you were trained. And I get it, especially if you're a man, testosterone creeps in. And if it's working correctly, it must be fixed. I understand, guys. I get it. But it's a habit change for us to work ourselves out of the grunt work. Find somebody else to do it. Time waster, big time waster. And next on the list is TV commercials. When I watch TV, and I watch TV every single night that I'm home. I love the TV shows. I got a whole list of them I watch. But the key is the list of them that I watch are all being recorded on the DVR well before I sit down to the TV. I have a hard time sitting through commercials when I know I don't have to. So if you don't have a DVR, get a DVR. Program in the shows you want. You don't even need to remember what day of the week they're on anymore. Come back and you play what you want. And here's the cool part. An hour television show is really only a 40-minute television show. There are 20 minutes worth of commercials in every 1 hour television show. That's 20 minutes per show you saved by simply blasting out the commercials and using the DVR. Wow. I mean, how easy is that? And why doesn't everybody have a DVR? Not to mention, you lose a lot of your favorite shows if you don't have one. All right. And then there's this procrastination thing. Procrastination. Why on earth would I want to do something today that I could put off till tomorrow? Well, I understand. Everybody has that habit. But again, it's going to require a habit change to fix this procrastination thing. First, of course, would be the delegation. In my world, if a task comes upon me that I shouldn't even be doing, I'm immediately going to delegate it to somebody. Now, again, of course, that means you've got to have somebody to delegate it to. You start with our virtual assistants, but you can find somebody to delegate almost everything you need done to them. And that cures procrastination right there because it doesn't sit around and wait for you to get it done. Problem with you getting it done is it may never get done. And one of the biggest things you better not procrastinate on is calling FSBO leads, because if you procrastinate on that and you don't get around to it, you got no business. And that, may sound simple and trite, but it's absolutely true. Many people out there today who think they're going to get around to calling the sellers find something more important stops them from calling the sellers. Therefore, there is no business. There are no deals. Got to have deadlines. Deadlines are the cure for procrastination. And you're probably going to have to self-impose those deadlines on you, which means that you have to have a way to record them. Record them in your reminder app on your phone. Remind yourself, which, by the way, your calendar is a handy device on there as well. Put all your activities in your calendar. And did you know that you can hit the home button on your cell phone and tell it to enter dates into your calendar without having to type in anything? Just hit the home button. Put on my calendar, I have a blah, blah, blah meeting on March the 12th at 2 p.m. And there it is, pops right up on your calendar. So using this device that you're already using anyway, but not getting the biggest advantage out of it, might take a little bit of time for you to practice with and change your habits and make it part of your daily life to use these cool tools. So honestly, if you don't write things down and have them pop up when they should be done, procrastination creeps in and nothing gets accomplished. And next thing you know, you get the reputation for being one of those people that don't keep their promises, don't show up on time. And I'll tell you right now, if you get that reputation, people just aren't going to want to hang around you very long. Now, by the way, we have a time management course. If you want more of Ron on time management, you can get that at thementorpodcast.com/time. It's a very inexpensive course. and people rave about it. The ones that that are lucky enough to actually purchase it. We don't promote it much, so if you want it, it's thementorpodcast.com/time. Time. Can't tell you how many people I've seen over my years that just cannot manage their time, and therefore they lose a fortune, and many times have to change careers, not knowing what the real problem was. It was them. They need to change their habits about time management. Okay, well, that's all I'm going to get in this podcast. So I'll see you on the next time on the Mentor Podcast. And by the way, if you want me to cover subjects that you need covered, just let us know. And if I don't have a lesson on it already, I'll be happy to create it. It is you that tells us what you need lessons on. That's the reason why I'm doing this time management podcast right now. So participate in the process and help us help you. I'll see you next time on the Mentor Podcast.
That's all for this edition of the Mentor Podcast. To connect with Ron and learn how you can attain financial freedom, as well as up-to-date strategies to grow and protect your wealth based on today's discussion, go to www.connectwiththementor.com.